All right, The Joy of Email Marketing. I'm only slightly kidding with that title. I actually absolutely love this stuff. I love it. So hopefully you can enjoy it as much as I do. So here goes. Okay, so that's me, 9 years old. My mom made my tunic, Link, for Halloween there. My dad made all my tools, you know, the shield and the boomerang. That's totally me. And I was a total Nintendo kid, like 100%, like I was almost a brand representative at that company. Like I loved NES at that time, and Zelda was top of the bunch. And my Bible at that time, what was going straight into my brain was Nintendo Power. And I don't know if you guys had Nintendo Power. I think it was distributed to Canada, but it was essentially the official magazine of Nintendo. And they put out, it was like 110 pages of just Nintendo stuff. Only NES, and it was awesome. It influenced my early artistic abilities here. That was my drawing. And I wasn't just straight up copying. Like, I decided to make Samus have this like death grip. Like she was like doing that. I wasn't just straight up copying. It was a springboard. And now I've grown up, and I'm actually a UX designer. And so what I'm really interested in is how people interface with technology. How do they use technology, and how do we make it easier for people? So I'm really interested in technology and the psychology of it. I also make video games. In addition to UX, one of my most popular ones was Wizard Golf RPG. It's a game about dungeon crawling while still adhering to the rules of golf. And then Return of the Zombie King is a game about upgrading every single one of your body parts from nothing, being a skeleton, all the way up to being a fully fleshed out human. And then I'm working right now on a game called One Screen Platformer. It's a platformer that takes place on one screen. And as Jason mentioned, I also blog a lot about marketing and this sort of stuff on Gama Sutra. So I've got about 6 months worth of posts up there now. So now that I know how UX, making your games, and marketing work, looking back, Nintendo Power was actually just a giant advertisement specializing in the 9 to 16-year-old demographic, and I was totally marketed to my entire childhood. Now you might think, oh my God, your life is a lie now, right? But it is not. I love it. And actually, I really enjoy it, and it's actually influenced how I approach marketing. And what I'm trying to teach all of you today is like how to make it so that a 9-year-old will want to draw your marketing. Because we're not trying to like sell. We're really trying to connect with people and really make something that they're enjoying and that they opt into and they want you to tell them about your game. So that's the name of the game. There's actually 2 parts to this. The first is the joy of funnels, because we got to start somewhere, and then the joy of email. But we'll start with the joy of funnels. It's not as joyous as email, but we got to start somewhere. Okay, so the joy of funnels. Okay, I read Reddit. I love postmortems. I read them all the time. This was a Reddit comment when somebody posted a postmortem about a failed game. And this Redditor had this quote that said, I actually thought they canceled this project. They had heard about it before a long time, and then eventually they forgot about it. And then they thought they had canceled the project. And a lot of you might think, Indiepocalypse, there it is. But this is not a new thing. This is actually a centuries-old problem. We've known about this for a long time. And actually, over 100 years ago, this man, Elias St. Elmo Lewis, I checked, his name is not a palindrome, but it's like this close to being a palindrome. He wrote about marketing, and he's one of the founding fathers of just marketing in general. Like, he was writing about this stuff before television, before telephones, before TV, the internet. His theories persist today, and they're still effective. And his greatest contribution is this. It's a sales funnel. Philomena mentioned the sales funnel. It's good to hear. And basically all a sales funnel is a model so that you can understand how potential customers interface with your product, how they go from not knowing about it all the way down to actually paying for it. And if you get nothing out of my talk, nothing at all, you don't like my advice or anything, you got to learn this. This thing's like gravity or understanding evolution. Even if you don't believe in it, you are affected by it. So you have to learn this thing, whether you do anything I tell you today or not. And basically, it's sometimes they call it in marketing circles ADA, because the main stages of marketing is awareness, interest, desire, and then action. Action is just buying your stuff. Okay, so Philomena had the cutest animals to represent the thing. This is the best I can do, so I'm sorry it's not as good. It's actually a reappropriated from GamePro magazine, another game magazine from my youth. They had these characters to rank games. They didn't give it like an A through an F. They actually just did these little crazy characters. So I'm going to reappropriate it. And so basically what these were think of this as the emotional state of the person who's interfacing with your game. Okay, and they call it a funnel because it's kind of like liquid people are poured on the top of the funnel, and then they trickle down the funnel, just like water, and they can fall out. That's why it's shaped like a funnel, because it kind of represents the percentages. So very few people who enter the top are actually going to make it down and buy your game. Okay, so the best way to do explanation for funnel is just to give you an example. So let's pretend we all are in a giant studio, all of us here, and we're making an RTS game, like a real-time strategy. And what we're going to do is follow the path of one person, and we're going to call her person A. And she does not know we exist at all. We're in the middle of development, but she doesn't know anything about our game. So she's way at the top of the funnel, unaware. But we got picked up. A preview of our game was picked up by Kotaku. And they wrote a glowing preview of our game. And so she reads Kotaku every day, and person A now is aware of our game. She at least has a concept of RTS. And remember, she likes RTSs. She's played them in her childhood, she knows the genre, and she likes them. So she actually is a little bit interested in our game, and what she does is she clicks the link that Kotaku linked to, and it goes to our website. And she reads like an FAQ or something, she just kind of basically gets some basic information, and that's right up her alley. She just intuits that this is my type of game. And so she is now in the stage of interest. She's like, hey, this is my type of game. And because on our FAQ, we actually said, hey, you can follow our development and our daily plays on Twitch. We have a Twitch stream. And on the Twitch stream, we actually show very detailed strategies and how the advanced characters are. We go real in depth in this. And so she watches this, and it's not just interesting to her. She wants this game. She has now determined this is my game. So she desires the game. She'll think about it on her breaks. She'll think about it on her commute. She wants this game. She strategizes, how she's going to use the units that she learned about on our Twitch stream. And what we do is we're a very good organization. And what we do is we set up a Twitch stream on the day. We do a 24-hour streamathon. We all buy matching suits or something. I don't know. But we do this for really awesome all-day Twitch stream. And every half an hour we say, go buy the game, go buy the game. And we're really good call to actions and everything. And she does, because she likes us, she knows us, she attended all our streams and everything. So she does. She goes to Steam and she buys that game. Day one. So what we just witnessed there was a perfect funnel. The important thing to know is we had something for person A at every stage that she was in as she learned about our game. We had an FAQ, we did press and PR just to get her into the funnel. That was the awareness. Then we had an FAQ just to kind of introduce the game, some basic concepts. So that's at that level. And then at the desire level, we converted her to have full desire with the Twitch stream. And then we did a launch stream with a good call to action to get her to actually take action. So this is a perfect funnel. This is what you want to do. A lot of indies will always say, how do I get visibility? How do I get visibility? That's good. You should worry about that. But that's not it. If you don't have this kind of middle tier of marketing, you might as well not have anything, because people just don't see something and then go buy it. It doesn't happen that way. The only time that really happens is at the checkout aisle, and it's $1 and it's covered in sugar. That's the only time somebody sees something and then buys it. They will not do that for your game, Probably because it should be more than $1, and it should at least have like complex carbohydrates, not just like the straight sugar. So as you can tell, like this, you have to have a funnel unless you're selling gum. So let's look at another example, for completeness. This is person B. He does not like RTSs. He does not. So person B, he's also reads Kotaku every single day, and he is unaware of our game, but then he reads the Kotaku piece, and so now he is aware. Like, he doesn't necessarily like it, but he's aware. So he checks the link. The graphics are cool, so he's like, oh, maybe. He clicks the link, goes to our webpage, reads the FAQ, and realizes it's a hardcore RTS, and he's like, I don't like RTSs, I hate it, so I'm out. That's totally fine. Like, you have to understand, even if we spent $1 million just on player B, he's still not gonna wanna buy our game. Like, we could do marketing just on that guy, and he's never gonna buy our game. That's totally fine. This is the funnel. Like, people are supposed to fall out. And the key thing to understand is just because somebody's aware of your game, like you got 10,000 trailer plays, does not mean you have 10,000 sales. They just got to the top of the funnel. Just to repeat, exposure does not equal sales. You can't just rely on how do I expose my game. So let's pretend there's an alternate universe in which we did not establish that funnel. We did not build all the parts. We did not do the Twitch stream. So let's replay what happens in world B, but with our game. So we're still making an RTS. We're still in the studio. And person A, she still likes RTSs, but we're in a different reality now. And we did not build a funnel. We were focused entirely on exposure. That's all we cared about. So she saw the Kotaku piece because we got good PR. That's all we care about is good PR. And we didn't have a website, or we maybe had one, but it was just a couple screenshots or something. And so she clicked the link, and maybe she looked at the screenshots, but there's just nothing there for her. So she kind of said, oh, well, I like the game. It looks kind of cool. But there was nothing there for her. And it took us 6 months to release the game. And by the time we released, she had totally forgotten about us. There are so many games out there that you just forget about stuff. There's also times, even if you don't build a funnel, that people forget about it too. So people don't use their funnels all the time. So rewind again, this is player A, and she likes RTSs, and she saw the Kotaku piece. She went to our website. We had a great FAQ. We said, join our Twitch stream, and she did, but we never used Twitch. We never streamed our content or anything. And she did what's called cooling, which she actually went from being warm and interested in our game, but she just kind of lost contact with us, and we didn't keep streaming, and so she cooled back down to just merely aware. This is cooling. You kind of also think of the funnel in temperatures. Like if you've heard the thing, a cold call, that's the funnel, because somebody who's unaware of your product, you're calling a cold person. Just the same way you can, or a hot prospect, again, temperature really integrates with the funnel. So she lost out and she did not buy our game. And this is exactly what the Redditor was commenting about. That guy cooled. He cooled to the game. He forgot about it, didn't realize they launched, and didn't end up buying the game. And then they wrote a post-mortem about how nobody bought their game. So the reason you need to think about funnels is like all of today, you're just going to get like blasted with all this information, like so much. There is no way you could do all of it. Like there's literally no way. And there's so many tips out there. Every time you read Gamma Sutra, there's some other trick you have to use. Like, what you got to do is think, where would this tip fit into the funnel? And what you also have to do is break down your current marketing. Like, go home, look at everything you're trying to do, and line it up in the funnel. Is it targeting this desire phase where you're trying to like get somebody who's already aware, they know the basics about the game, and they just need to like learn more about it? If you're missing something, you've got to plug something in there to match this different interest levels. And that's what you need to do, is really figure out where all your marketing fits. Don't just concentrate entirely on awareness. So that brings us to the joy of email. Now, before you were not ready to learn about email, but now you are. Once you understand funnels, now you can understand why this is so freaking awesome. Okay, so as a spoiler alert, like, yeah, there's a lot of ways you could get people down the funnel, but it turns out the best way to do it is email. And if you aren't aware, okay, I'm just going to do a quick disclaimer. This is not spam. I'm not considering spam, so don't tune me out here. Spam is something totally different. This is the definition of spam from Wikipedia, and basically it's unsolicited bulk email to an unwanted email address and indiscriminate recipients. That is the total opposite of what email marketing is. Email marketing is all about permission. The people who join your email list want to be marketed to. They say, please market to me. Tell me about your game. I want to hear about it. And they can leave at any time. You're actually required to put an unsubscribe on every single email. And at any time they don't like your message, they can just unsubscribe. And they should if they don't like your message. And you never, ever, ever contact them again. So it's not like some sleazy scheme to email spam. That's not what I'm suggesting here. So with that out of the way, I'm going to give you 4 reasons why email is so totally awesome and actually better than social media. Okay, so the reason number 1 is you're not dependent on a big corporation to contact your fans. About 20 to 15 years ago, these were the hottest, best marketing platforms in the world. If you built your following on these platforms and you spent a lot of money getting followers on here, you lost all your money because these do not exist anymore. And if you're thinking that like, well, Facebook's a monopoly, Twitter is so big, it is not. There are a lot of problems right now with those platforms. And they are toxic, and one day could really screw things up. So what my warning to you is, don't rely too much on other corporations. You are dependent on them. They're just lending you followers. You do not really have access to them. So the reason too, and this is kind of counterintuitive, everybody thinks social media is like the biggest thing in the world. It's hot, it's new. The most profitable companies in the world are social media companies. It actually doesn't work that well. Okay, so this marketing firm did this study where they looked at a whole bunch of like very popular social media feeds, emails, and Twitters, and they tried this test where they just emailed something in general, and they published this report. And the way you kind of read this report is, what if you theoretically had 2,000 Twitter followers, 2,000 Facebook followers, 2,000 email followers, and you just sent a message, something to do, something about your company. And they looked to see how many people theoretically would view that piece of content. And this is the results. Like, email just blew away every other social media platform when it came to these like messages. And I thought, okay, well, video games are a young audience. They use Twitter. They're much more engaged. They use technology. This doesn't apply to video games. So I did some research, and I found this. This game, Dino Run 2, here's a link to it. That they not out yet, but I highly recommend you check them out. I worked with the developer to get this bit of information, so he deserves it. So go check him out. He ran a Kickstarter in January of this year. It ended in February. And the cool thing about him was during the whole campaign in January, he was awesome about it. He would always tweet and email on the same day at the same time, and it had the same content and the same call to action. Like, he would say, go check out our Kickstarter page, go click this link. Very good. He did awesome. And he did it through the whole thing. A lot of people just send it the first time Kickstarter launches. This guy was consistent throughout the whole month about doing this. And so I contacted him. I want to watch the whole thing, and I said, okay, how did this campaign do for you? And he was so generous, and he helped us out. So let me show you what the results were. At the start of his campaign, he had 24,000 Twitter followers and 16,000 email subscribers at the start. And this is what the results of it. And like, each email was sent out a week throughout his campaign. And like this is his email. Like, it is an order of magnitude higher than the click-through rate. Like, when he would tweet out, these are counts of clicks, not just views. These are people who said, I want this thing, and I'm going to click it. Like, it's an order of magnitude. And actually, if you were to add up all of his Twitter clicks, they're less than half of the worst performing email. Less than half. Like, it's not like if you just punched up the Twitter text, like, oh, add a couple emojis, it's going to match email. It's not even close. And the important thing to get away from this is, I'm not saying ditch Twitter and it sucks or something, and he did everything right. I'm just saying if you're not using email, you are missing out on the backbone of this. And you should still tweet, it's still important, but just consider that. Okay, here's number 3, is you just have more functionality with email. When you tweet or use Facebook, you're just blasting it to your entire following. Like everybody, people who are in all levels of the funnel, some people who love you, some people who are just there. With email, you can segment your list. So your top fans, your diehards, the people who love you, you can send them like a quick email that says, review my game, it's up now. They will do it because they love you. You also have stragglers here. I don't know why they're still on your list, but every list will have them. You can just give them a quick email. Don't spend too much time on your stragglers. But when you're doing a campaign, you've got a huge middle group they're fence sitters. They're not sure if they want to buy your game, and so you really have to kind of work to get them to move. And that's where you really target, and you can really use email to kind of like target those specific groups that are kind of the fence sitters. So you can really target yourself when you have your audience when you have email. Number 4 is just install base. Everybody has email because to sign up for the social media, you need an email. And to sign up for Steam and the App Store, you need email addresses. So everybody's got it. A lot of times you'll go to a conference or something and say, hey, you should follow our game on Facebook or Twitter. And they're like, oh, I don't use Twitter or I don't use Facebook. Everybody uses email. Okay, so let's just do a little comparison here. I mean, I know I'm pitching for email, but it's really lining up pretty good. I'll give virality to social media. Like, email just doesn't go viral, but I'll give it that. I don't totally hate social media. But as you can see, it's very dominant strategy here. In fact, email is OP. Like, it is the blue shell of like contacting your fans. It's, you know, we're all game designers here, and the dominant strategy, like we try to avoid that in game design because all your players will just pick up that one strategy, and that's all they will do. But we're indies, and we don't get a lot of breaks in this world, so we should just embrace anything that gives us just even a slight advantage. And so what I'm saying is double and triple down on email because it's just so much more powerful than anything else. So if you believe me on this, how are we actually going to use this? And the way to think about your email list is not to just think of it as marketing. It's really your fan club. This is the official membership for somebody who joined the Beatles fan club. Like, if you're a Beatles fan, you're going to be on the Beatles fan club. It's the most cherished group of people that love you. So you should treat your email list like that, like they're your biggest fan group. And so the basic strategy, the blueprint for how you're going to go through this is 3 basic steps. You drive traffic to your list, you build a relationship with that list, and then finally you market your game. So the first step is driving traffic to your list. And basically what that means is you're trying to get people from the top of the funnel, which is like social media. Social media is a very top of the funnel activity. You're trying to get them as fast as you can off of that, not off of email or off of social media, but just to join your list. So you're always trying to drive everything to the email list. Don't consider them a fan until they've joined the email list. And how do you literally get them to join the email list? Like, I see this on a lot of company websites. Like, it's this little thing, like we're afraid of it. It doesn't even say anything. It's just sort of this, like, why would I put anything in that box? Like, I don't even know what I'm signing up for here. It just says newsletter. I also see this a lot. This sign up, like, it's from this like noble dev, like, I'll only ever email you if I release a new game. Remember, this is our fan club. The people who sign up for your email list love you. They absolutely love you. It's like, what if you met a really cool person and you're like, hey, I'm going to give you my phone number. Let's hang out. And they said, I'm only going to call you when I need $20. Like, why would, you're like, I love you. Come on, let's hang out, please. And they say, in 6 months, you will randomly get a call from me to sell you something. I'm just going to randomly, you don't even know when it's coming. I'm just going to contact you. Like, they love you. Like, your fans want to hear from you. We are awesome. Trust that we are awesome, and they want to hear from us. Don't just be this weird friend. Okay, so literally, how do you get them to join the email list? And the way you're properly supposed to do this is a lead magnet. And what a lead magnet is, it's a small incentive to get people to give in their email address. You might think, oh, bait and switch. That's bait and switch. Nuh-uh-uh. If you've ever worked in an office, the most popular person in the office was always the one that had the little candy jar on the corner of their desk. And the reason that is because it's an icebreaker. It gives you an excuse to go grab a little piece of candy, but then you engage in conversation with them. A lead magnet is essentially that little jar of candy on the corner of your desk. And there are multiple places you can put the lead magnet. Philomena did an excellent job with a beta. That's a very popular one. But even if you're not ready to do the beta, you can still use a lead magnet. Let me show you some examples. External to the game, this game Abandoned Ship by Fireblade Studios. It's a game where you manage a crew on a battleship, like an old merchant ivory ship, and you control the crew, and it looks like, they literally made it to look like that painting that's in your grandpa's den. It's really cool. But what they did was this awesome thing. You can still do this. It's on their website. When you sign up to their mailing list, you enter your name, and they take your name and they put it in a database, so everybody playing that game will randomly get your name as one of the random crew members. They draw that crew member list from this database of signups. And the cool thing about that is, like, one, you don't even have to own the game to do this. I did it myself just to try it out. The cool thing about it is, now I'm kind of thinking, I want to see my name in the game. So I might be a little bit more incentivized to go buy it. I'm also going to tell my friends about it because I'm going to say my name's in this cool game. That's external to buying the game. But in my game, Zombie King, I actually put the email list also in the sign up. And the reason you do this is a lot of times people play your game without even going through their funnel and know about you. Stuff like Humble Bundles or flash sales. People will get your game without knowing anything about you. And so we still can kind of catch those people that like your game. And the way I did it was, there's a bonus room that has tons of gold, but the only people allowed in the bonus room are members of the Secret Society of Adventurers. And to get to the Secret Society of Adventurers, you need a passcode, a little secret password. And to get the secret password, I'll just email you the password. And so they sign up, they get the password, and then they get the bonus round, and they get all this great stuff. And it's been amazingly popular to sign up for my email list. So we now have people on our mailing list. We need to build a relationship with them. And this is the best part. This is essentially the funnel and how to get them through. And I said email is the best way to do that. And this is how you build that relationship. You use what's called an autoresponder. And every single email program out there that you're going to use, like a MailChimp, has this feature built in. And all it is it's a scheduled program. Like, you pre-write a bunch of emails, and then you set a schedule, and then the autoresponder will automatically send emails to the folks that are on your list. So from the moment they join, 2 days later, you'll get an email. And then 2 days later, they'll get another email. You can set the duration, you can play with it. The way to think about an autoresponder is, like Game of Thrones, I didn't get into it till many seasons after it started. And essentially what an autoresponder is, like that binge session that you do. Like, you hear a bunch of people talking about the show, what is this show? So you go back and you rewatch all the seasons in a single weekend. That is what an autoresponder is. You might have 4 games out there and people don't know about you. So you're trying to introduce all those people that never heard about you until today. So the kind of stuff you put in your autoresponder is like for the Zombie King, they signed up and they're still playing the game. I know they are, because it's pretty early in the game when they sign up. So I'll give them tips about the game that they're currently playing. And they love that because I'm helping them out by doing that. But then you start to transition to describing who I am. Who is this person making this game? About my studio history. And then you can also say stuff like, oh, and about 2 years ago I released this game. And you link to your Steam page. And the awesome thing about this is you're actually selling to your back catalog without doing anything. You've just set this email autoresponder, and you set it and forget it, and it's constantly selling your backlog every single day. And you don't even have to do anything about it. And a lot of people think, oh my God, people hate emails. It's terrible. This is my autoresponder sequence, and I send it about every other day. They'll get an email. And if you notice, the open rate is on the right. My highest performing email is actually way down here. It's one of the last ones in the sequence. People, if you keep in front of their mind and you do good copywriting, you make it enjoyable, give good content to them, they're going to stick with you and they're going to fall in love with you. So again, we've driven them to the mailing list. We've built that relationship. Now it's time to market the game. Sell, 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 right? Just drop the bomb on them, just get them for every dime they're worth, right? No. Do not just cash out on your email list. You're nurturing them. And the general practice that you do for email is something called give, 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 ask. Sometimes also referred to jab, 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 right hook. And basically what you're doing is it's kind of a ratio. Like for every one email that you've sent that says like, hey, go buy my game, you have already given them 3 emails that are just no sales content. You're not trying to pitch them on anything. You're just giving them little presents. Think of your email list as like a little present merchant, and he's just giving toys to all the boys and girls who are your subscribers. And that is the way you should think about it. Like the way you boost your open rates is you give away things, because they know when they receive something in their inbox with your name on it that they are getting something totally frickin' awesome. And that's what Nintendo Power did. Like, they used to give away comics and maps and like cheat codes. It was just awesome. Like, it was just free, awesome stuff as long as you were on their like distribution list. Like, this map here of Metroid is what sold me. There's somewhere in this cave is something called the Ice Beam. I didn't even freaking know what an Ice Beam was, but I knew I had to have this game just because I knew somewhere in this game was hidden something called the Ice Beam. Like, you just give them stuff about your game, and they're going to love your game for it. You're not trying to constantly sell them. This is your fan club. Treat it like one. You're not trying to sell. This is a quote from William Poe from Crows, 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 who also wrote for the Stanley Parable. And he has this great riff. I don't understand half of what he's talking about, but he had this great quote, which is basically, do not let your email list be controlled by marketers. It should be your creative team that's in charge of your email list, because they are the makers of dreams. They are the ones who make the cool pictures, they make the cool level designs. They should be the ones sending stuff out, not your marketers. So make it full of little presents. The other thing with email is it's a one-to-one communication. When people get emails from you, it comes from you. Like, your name is on the list, and their name is in the from field. They don't see everybody else on the email. It's just one-to-one. It's you and that other person. So I see a lot of emails that come back from indie devs that say, like, hey, everyone, hey, y'all. Like, it's not. It's hey, you. Hi, Mary. It's like a personal one-to-one connection with the person who's receiving that email. It's also not like a place to like list everything. I mean, I know it's called a newsletter, but people kind of like treat it like it's the neighborhood newsletter of like all the stuff that's happening in the neighborhood. It's not. It's not a parts catalog where you just list every single thing. I actually write my emails like I'm just writing a letter to one friend. I actually imagine when I'm writing these that I'm like telling my best friend about my game, because I don't use a lot of pictures. I post the picture at the top just so they kind of see what the game looks like, and it'll trigger them like, oh yeah, this is that game. But then I just describe, whatever it is, but I write it in a very common way. Like, it's, again, like I'm writing to a friend. Also, there's like this weak wave response that people are doing where they apologize every time you open this email. Again, this kind of goes back to the cool friend analogy. Like, when you call your best friend up, you don't go, I'm sorry, I'm calling you. I'm worried about you're going to hate me for calling you. No, you're not invading somebody's inbox. If you're sending awesome stuff, people are going to be like, finally, they're giving me good stuff. So don't apologize in your emails. Your fans should love it when they get emails from you. Okay, so let me just show you, like, I've really built this strategy into Zombie King, and so I kind of want to show you kind of what happened here with this. I get reviews like this on Zombie King where it's like, very much looking forward to seeing more from this developer, and I love how he engages with his friends. Like, they're not used to hearing from us and in a personal one-on-one way. So when you do that, they think it's like a magical thing that's happened to them. On my autoresponder, anybody can reply to an autoresponder message, and I get it. And I always, always, always respond back to them. And this guy said, I enjoyed the ending and am enjoying your almost episodic emails. Because when I write my autoresponder, I write little cliffhangers at each one. Like, hey, next one, I'm going to tell you the worst idea I ever had. Or, hey, on the next email that you're going to get from me, I'm going to give you some more tips about how to collect more gold. So they're like looking forward towards the next one. And they really like that. But like the thing that really sold me this, and the reason I say this is the joy of email marketing is this. like, again, 9-year-old kid, like totally loving Nintendo, like, yeah. I actually had my son about 2 years ago. And you just spend a lot of time just like walking the kid back and forth trying to put him to sleep. And so you just have a lot of just dead time. And I'm just thinking about him like, is he gonna, like, am I someday gonna have to make a shield for him? Or are we gonna play video games together? You just think about this stuff all the time. And like, I got Zombie King out 1 month before he was born. Like, I worked so hard to get that thing out because I knew like, okay, there's no more game dev for a little while. And while I was doing it, I was actually, it turns out you can work with you can still do stuff while you're putting this little kid to sleep because you spend so much time looking at him and like trying to get him to sleep. And I was answering support emails, and this one came in from one of my fans who was responding to an autoresponder, and he said, hey, great work on the game. My son and I are loving Zombie King. And then he said, I was initially very apprehensive, but subsequent emails have been good and useful and true to your word that you haven't turned into a spam engine. That's pretty good, right? But here I am looking at my son, and I'm hearing about this guy's son, and I was like, hey, thanks for the kind words. It is so cool you play with your son. My first child was born Wednesday. I can't wait for him to be old enough so we can play together. Like, I just thought it was so amazing. So I emailed the guy right back, and he responded, blank is a big fan of your games, and he gets the concepts well enough. As with most games these days, he now owns me and shows me how it's done. Turns out, my son's name is the same as this guy's son, and he's actually in my arms as I write this. And I was like, holy mackerel. Like, this isn't any, like, I know it's cynical and we're like selling people stuff and we're like trying to up our CPIs or whatever. I don't know, but really essentially marketing is just like connecting with another human being. You're not trying to just sell them all the time. And I made a lot of games before I made Zombie King and really implemented this, but I have never, all the tweets I've sent, ever had a connection like I had with that guy. Like, we found out we had the same son's name, like our son's names were the same. Like, what kind of crazy marketing scheme is this? Like, it's not. It's connecting with another human being. And I know nothing that can do as well as email. Like, it's kind of like the speed limit of the universe. You know how you can't travel faster than the speed of light? Like, that's just the law of the universe. The law of the internet is nothing can do better than email. It just does. There's nothing in the world that can do it. So what I'm telling you is use that power and be genuine, communicate with people in a kind way, and connect. That's all you're doing. That's my talk. Again, I love this stuff. I will talk to anybody about this at all hours of the night. Not while I'm holding my son anymore because he's 2, so he like claws my eyes. So I gave a book. Like, if you're okay with this strategy, you're like, okay, I want to hear a little bit more. And I wrote this book, and it's like the 87 emails you have to send. It's 87. Just I write like, here's kind of how to format it, and this is the kind of strategy you should use for each one of these emails. It's just like an idea book. You get it when you sign up for my mailing list, which is that thing at the top. And I also tweet a little bit, but most of my kind of findings and research into doing this email marketing stuff is going to come through my mailing list. And I'll always tell you when a new blog is up there. And as we know from that guy with the sun, I don't spam. So it's really useful for you. Again, you can just message me, or when you join my mailing list, reply to any email. I always answer back. So that's that. I guess I'll open it to questions.
Thank you very much, Chris. All right. We have time for questions. Anyone on the floor before I run up to the back? Okay. Sam.
So you mentioned as part of the funnel, sometimes people cool off between awareness and like getting to buy something. Is there a way to heat things back up if they've gone cool?
Yeah, I mean, shame on you for cooling your mail-in list. It's very sad. I mean, it hurts my eyes, a little tear. But what I would do is, you've got to kind of, if you haven't implemented a autoresponder, it might be time to do that and just set it up and just start emailing your list more frequently. But start out by giving them good stuff. Like, don't start with the sales pitch. Just whatever your game, whatever you're trying to do, just give them awesome stuff. Like, whatever the best thing you've got, like your soundtrack, maps, cheat codes, everything you've got, you should just start giving them awesome stuff, because that's going to make them think, oh, yeah, this is awesome. The thing is, and this is the warning, is when you first warm up, you haven't emailed your list in a while, and then you do, you're going to get a ton of unsubscribes. Like, that just happens because they forgot who you are, and then when you come back, they're like, who? I don't remember, and then they'll just exit out. So brace yourself for that. That's going to happen. Just tough it out and go through, and the rest of the group will go through.
Perhaps a related question, how do you segment the kind of the temperature of your subscribers? You had one slide there where you sort of said, hey, I can send different things to different people to different levels of the funnel, but if it's just 10,000 subscribers on your email, how are you aware of who's at sort of what temperature or what stage?
Like MailChimp will give you a star rating for each one of your followers, but there's other ways you could segment, like you know how they joined your list. So like if you went to an event and you had a sign-up sheet, they can be tagged with, oh, I met these people. Or you can tag them and say, hey, they signed up with this game, or they signed up with this game. So there's several ways that you learn about them. You just know that kind of stuff. But the star rating from MailChimp is the best way to judge how active they are. And you can see like click-through rates, like this person opens every email, or this person opens every other email.
Well, first of all, thank you. That was truly a really good talk. Secondly, I got a question. I'm actually really sold on all of this, but there's one thing I'm wondering. We're often going to talk about social medias and their power of, like, someone that's really going to like your game, a fan, will have the ability because of social media to share it. That's the power of social media. And I'm just wondering, with email, as it's really like one-on-one, like, are you gonna like email someone and then they're just gonna go out of their house running and tell people about your game? Or what other tools or what other strategies do you use to actually use the power of the ambassadors and the fans of your games? And how do you still use things like sense of belonging into a community and stuff like that when email is so personal?
Yeah, that's great. So the thing, like I said, email is the most powerful way to get those clicks. Like, there's no better way. If you send a link, they will do it no matter what. Like, that's the best thing. So what you can do is, and I've done this before with other things, like for your super fans, you can like pre-write tweets, and there's there's websites out there that you can write a tweet and then send it to your list and say, hey, can you guys, very similar to what Philomena did, where she said, if we don't get 50,000 downloads, it's going to be bad, and they'll fight for you. So what you can do is you can pre-write tweets for them and say, if you really like our games and you want to spread the word, click this button, and they'll tweet for you. So in other words, you're basically, you're queuing them up to do what you need help with, or like comment on a Twitch stream. So it's really like you just have this army of people that you can contact in the best way, and you just use that in the way that works best for sharing.
And also, I think, Chris, you were also mentioning you're not stopping to do the sort of the top-level funnel awareness stuff, which is mainly driven by social media and so on.
Yeah. Social media is a very good top-of-the-funnel activity, but it sucks down the funnel. Social media is terrible below visibility.
Thanks a bunch for the talk. It was really, really cool. It's awesome to see how passionate you are about email marketing, because I really agree that it's the most personal form of communication that you can do as a developer. I'm wondering, because I feel like there's a certain age where you start reading your emails very frequently. Maybe it's like 15 or 16, kind of when you start being a little bit more professional. But some of our biggest fans ended up just, they were like younger when they learned about the game, and they didn't learn via an email list. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about email lists for younger people, like, when you're 13 or 14, you're not checking your email as much, but you are more active on other platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Discord, whatever. Yeah.
I don't interface with many 13-year-olds, so I don't know, I'm sorry, but I can't talk too well to that. But I still think that, everything goes through email, like your Twitch, even Twitch, you need an email to sign up for it and that sort of thing. And I think you're just kind of like training them to, the same thing, I kind of had the same thought for video games. That's why I did that personal test with Dino Run 2. I think it is gonna be really powerful, even with the younger groups. Like, there's still nothing that's gonna beat it. So even if it might not be as effective, it's still gonna be much more effective than anything else. So I don't know, test it. No, like all this stuff, I don't know all the answers, just test it. Tell me, like email me, you've got my contact. If you try it and you find out, tell me. Hi.
I'm wondering how much time you spend crafting emails and how much time you spend kind of making sure that the message is the exact one that you want to send out, basically.
Yeah, I probably spend about 20% of my time, my dev time, doing marketing in general, but most of my marketing is spent email marketing. But you can write an email in 30 minutes. And the awesome thing about an autoresponder is it works day and night all the time once you set it up. So it's just kind of a set it and forget it. But yeah, it depends on how nerdy you want to get. I mean, the cool thing about it is like you can actually get programmers interested in marketing if you tell them about the funnel, because it's almost like debugging a stack trace. Like you're trying to find out where the breakage is, and like you saw that open rate, like you can get your programmer like figure out why this email is underperforming, and they will like use their programmer muscle to do it and like debug it like they're debugging a program, and that's where it gets fun. But you gotta, I don't know, it depends. It just depends on how much you want to optimize it.
So you said that social media are not very good to get through the funnel, and that emails are much more effective. You mentioned other strategies like FAQ and Twitch. Would you have other strategies that you would recommend? I don't know, like going to cons or things. What other strategies can be effective for going through the funnel?
I wrote a piece, not to pitch my other blogs, but I wrote a whole Gamma Sutra piece that came up with all the little marketing tactics that I've heard and everything, and I kind of placed them on the funnel where they're most effective. So just look through mine. I think it's called like How to Engage Your Fans, I think is what the blog title is. But I kind of break that stuff down. But the main thing you want to kind of think of, the main way to think about the funnel is the lower tier stuff. They just assume that everybody who's at that lower tier already knows the basics of your game. And what you're doing is you're trying to give content that assumes a basic level understanding. And so that's where you kind of, I mean, we're all creative people, so use that creativity to find stuff that really like nurtures and really teaches somebody something that is not obvious to somebody who just learns about your game. That's the important way to think about it. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Maybe related to that, I mean, my guess is the biggest gap for developers is from the initial awareness, right? They spend a lot of effort on awareness, getting PR, the high level stuff, and then maybe the kind of the awkward call to actions every 6 months. I mean, do you have any thoughts on, extremely effective tools to go from the broad awareness to the interest? I mean, you mentioned FAQ in your kind of quick story, but
yeah,
maybe like sort of that question, but specifically awareness to interest.
Yeah, I think dev blogs are really good, and a studio to look for this is like Blizzard, because like I was a really big StarCraft 2. I love that game, and they would do, when they're getting ready for the next version of StarCraft 2, they would like do these big reveals about who the new character that they were going to have for the next version of StarCraft 2. That is total middle funnel stuff. Like they're not explaining like this is StarCraft 2. They're like talking DPS for this unit and cooldown times and all kinds of stuff. Like that's. And the way they presented that was trailers that are specifically targeted to that. And so like you would never try and get press to cover this trailer because it's like total in the weeds wonky stuff. So kind of look at what Blizzard does. They'll also have like blog posts where they just break that stuff down, like the DPS and stuff I was talking about. The other one is Star Control, or what's that one that it's just like a money sink. It's that space game. Star Citizen, that's the one. They are awesome at mid-funnel stuff. They are all about the mid-funnel. So study them, see what they do. Like they talk like weird esoteric stuff that nobody gets except the people that are deep down in the funnel. So just kind of like emulate those two developers because they're awesome at mid-funnel actions.
Hey, it's me again. I was wondering if you do some segmentation from game to game and how you transition your email audience from a game that you've made to the next one that you're in development from.
I mean, that's the whole reason you do email, is so that you can roll that fan base forward. The worst thing, like the thing that's so terrible about like Steam wish lists is the wish list is just for that one game, and you can't, like everybody who wish lists your old game, Valve protects that so that you can't tell everybody who wishlists your last game about your future one. Like, email marketing really kicks into gear when it's time to do your next game. Like, that's the whole reason. And so what you're basically doing is you're like snowballing your fan base, and every game you release gets a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger until you're just like got this giant avalanche of just fans. And that's the whole point of email marketing, is for your future fans. That answer your question?
Yeah, so what you're basically doing is mostly advertising yourself and like the company as opposed to the game itself that you're working on because you're thinking ahead of?
That's exactly it. I didn't want to get into it. That's a whole separate thing. Actually, my next blog post on Gamma Sutra is going to be about this. It's called direct-to-fan marketing as opposed to brand marketing. And you're really trying to get your marketing, basically your mailing list, but your fandom, the games are kind of ancillary, and they feed into that. And you're really thinking long-term, like 2 or 3 games in a cycle.
Thank you.
Ken, hold on, Ken. All right, sure, get started.
Quick question. What's your favorite email platforms that you?
I mean, I only use MailChimp, and I'm not in love with them, but I've heard ConvertKit is good. The basic thing that you need to look at is, are you charged per fan, per subscriber? That's better than being charged per email. Like, I've heard of some that charge per email. You're going to send a ton of emails. You want to send as many as you possibly can, so don't do anybody that does that. Make sure they have an autoresponder. Make sure you can segment your audience. And make sure they have pretty good API so that you can like integrate them into your game. Like, you don't want to like kick them out to a website to sign up for your game. Like, if you should always build it into your game. Like I said with Zombie King, where I built the sign up, like I had to do a lot of API work so that the form is right in the thing and it just is right there. There's no friction. So those, just look for that. But MailChimp is totally fine. Oh,
okay. Hold on.
Yes, I had a question regarding the auto-responder. Basically, like, is there a chance that if you have like 4 or 5 emails that go out in a chain, that it's gonna tire out your new kind of potential fan? He's not yet an hardcore fan, and then you mentioned you had cliffhangers, and like, do you just think, oh, if he's unsubscribing in the auto-responding chain, that means he's not like worthy of my email list, or do you have like something that makes them be able to hop out of these kind of get to know each other process and just have the regular news, you know?
Yeah, a couple things about that. That's a big topic. A couple things are that like your email list, you kind of want to tend it like a garden. Like, you don't want all this dead weight that's like hauling along with you. So it's totally okay for them to churn out. It's like that guy that didn't like RTSs and he realized that we're making an RTS, so he got out. Perfect, get that guy out of there. I don't want to spend, you're charged per subscriber. Why would I want that guy on my email list? Like, get out of here, buddy. And that's a good thing about the autoresponder, is it filters out that dead weight that you're just like paying money to not want your message. So don't feel bad if you get unsubscribes. That's a healthy system. But you're tuning it, and it's a tuning system. Like, you've got to tune your messages so that they're not leaving for the wrong reasons. And MailChimp will actually, when they unsubscribe, they have the option of writing messages like, why are you unsubscribing? They might say it's spam or something. And if the unsubscribe reasons are not what you want them to be, then that means you might have to tune your message. And I try, like, I'm not afraid to experiment. Like, I've sent email subject lines that were kind of like clickbaity and people didn't like that, so I tuned it back. Like, don't be afraid of your mailing list. I find a lot of people are, and they'll send an email and they get a bunch of unsubscribes and they like freak out. It's like, don't worry. It's like, the internet is vast. There are so many people out there. So what you're really trying to do is nurture a garden of people who you like and who like you and that are like into your message. And you're just constantly tuning your audience like that. So that answer your email? Or your email? Sorry, I love this stuff.
Is there another question?
Thanks. Great talk. I also read your book. It's really cool. I recommend you do too.
I did not pay her to say that. Like, we've never met before.
Hashtag sponsored. No. My question is regarding MailChimp. So we had the topic before. Do you have monthly payroll, or do you pay like per email? What's the case for you?
How do I pay MailChimp, my plan? Yeah, I just do the monthly plan, not per email.
How much does it cost you monthly?
It's not, I mean, the good thing about MailChimp is it's pretty small. Like, I think I probably pay like $500 a year. But
okay.
The thing is, like, and kind of like what I was saying, when you have multiple games, like email marketing, it's like a slow build, and then marketing gets really big when you have a lot of games and you're established, because like I said, when you get that autoresponding, you're selling to your backlist. So your email list should not be a money sink. You should always look at it as it's one of your cost centers. Like it's earning you money because you're selling your back catalog, you are getting more impact to the top, and if you're not, you shouldn't look too much at the cost of email. You should see like, man, the amount of clicks that I get is so valuable that it earns me money. It shouldn't, if it's costing you money and you're a little bit more mature, like it's gonna be, there's upfront costs. Like it's gonna take you a couple of years till it pays for itself, but your email list should be a source of income.
Thanks.
You were saying that it's important to give to the people who subscribe to the mailing list, and basically if you like, I know they gave a game demo, they subscribe, but if you don't have a game demo yet, you're still like very early in production. So what kind of give you can give to the?
Yeah, it just has to be free. That's the big thing.
Okay,
and,
okay.
There's lots of things that you can do, like look at your strengths. Like find out what your strengths are. Like if you hired like the best like musician to do your soundtrack, give away your soundtrack. And the thing about email, like your lead magnet, is you should only do it for your email list. You shouldn't go turn around and then email it to Twitter or like send it out to your Twitter group, because then you just took the value of your fan base right there. But the other thing you can do is like, if you have like an awesome concept artist on your team, make an art book of like all your cool art, and then it's a downloadable PDF of all this awesome art. Just look at what your studio's strength is and do that. Another idea which I've never seen done, which I'd want to do but I don't do narrative games, is what if you had a narrative game and you joined the email list and every day you got like a little bit of a story, like it was like a character was emailing you and it was like a almost choose your own adventure, and every day you get this like weird story delivered to your email box, and it's like this neat story that kind of comes and evolves. Just use whatever the strength of your game is and figure out how you can turn that into something of value. Again, it goes back to that thing, like your creative team should be in charge of this, not your marketing team. Do cool stuff. We make cool stuff, so deliver it for free.
If you already have existing email channels that aren't your mailing list, like a dev blog or like a Kickstarter campaign, how would you suggest kind of managing the overlap between those? And I guess as a follow-up to that, is it okay to just have the same content in multiple places, like a dev blog, as your email list, or would you suggest kind of tailoring it or creating different content for each?
I'm trying some of that now, like on that one-screen game. Like I am emailing content to like the dev blog, I'm emailing it out, but I'm also posting on my Steam devlog, because they have a devlog built into Steam, and I'm just trying it, so I'm putting it in both places. That's okay. The main thing that you want to do is make sure that you still have value on your email list, because you want people to, you want that to be the value center. You want that to be where people say like, only the good information, the true fans would join your email list. Like if you give away everything to everywhere, there's no value in your email list. So you just again, you kind of have to tune it based on your individual circumstance.
Yeah, so my mailing list is exactly the opposite. I got a Reddit front page that resulted in like 50,000 mostly random people giving me their email. So a question I had was like, how would you deal with that differently? Because if I email these people every week or every couple of days, they're just going to tune out because they're not deep in the funnel when they've signed up.
Bring them down the funnel. Like, get it, go, do it. like if when they join it, get your autoresponder to get them down that funnel. Like you're trying to push them down. Like do it. Like I talked to you before, you're doing a strategy game. That is like gold for an email list. Like because there's so much stuff you have to explain. And again, like I was explaining up there to the question up there, if they don't like your message, they're going to drop out. Like, and that's good. That's a good grooming that you have to do. Like, it's good to clean your list if they're not interested in your message. Oh, and there was one point that I forgot to mention with the question is sometimes you can, and MailChimp has it already, but if you unsubscribe, there's actually a way you can turn on a form that says only subscribe to when this game launches, and they can opt into a second segment. So like when the person clicks unsubscribe, it takes them to a page and it says, do you want to just receive a message when my game launches? And then they can opt into that, and then you never email them unless you're launching a game. But you're gonna find out nobody does that. Like we all are so afraid that people are gonna stop wanting our stuff. We are awesome. Like let's just pat ourselves on the back. We are awesome. Like they want our stuff. Like give them good stuff and they will stick with you and they will move down your funnel.
Excellent. Well, you are awesome, Chris. Thank you so much.
I love talking about this stuff, so just anytime.